Hello, friends. I haven't hit you, but just a normal hello, friends, in a while. The end of every year brings about top 10 lists, top 10 best games of the year, for example. And a lot of outlets like to put together their top 10 list. And it's always funny to me when somewhere like Time magazine does a top 10 video games of 2024 list, because they're not a video game company. So I'm not really sure who is putting the list together, like the resident gamer that works at Time, Gamer Joe that works in the back room. Time decided they wanted to cash in on the video game market for a few easy clicks, and they're like, who could put this together? Who's played a video game this year? Joe in the back annex is always talking about that one game with the Cowboys he likes. How about you get him to do it? I just don't understand where these top 10s come from, because they're so wildly inaccurate. Like, I don't want to say inaccurate, because video games are an opinion, and I guess that's just what it is. It's just the opinion of somebody who doesn't really play video games, but maybe messed around in a couple and kind of liked one. So I want to look at the Time Magazine top 10 video games of 2024, and then let you know where I differ, I suppose. Let's react. Maybe I should read this absolute book before they start getting into their list, because maybe all my questions about Joe the video gamer is here. But this, to me, gives when you just want to look up a best cookie recipe. But before you even get to the recipe, you have to read this person's whole life experience with making cookies before you finally scroll past the ads and actually hit how to get that, how to bake frozen dough. You haven't even told me how to make it first. You haven't even told me how to make the cookie yet. Here we are. Wait, that's not really even it, is it? That's just telling you what ingredients you used, but not how much of the ingredient. Thank Jesus Christ. You had to go down so far. You had to hear about every cookie they've ever eaten before you get to the recipe. All right, Joe, I'm just going to trust you love video games. I feel you. I believe you. At number 10, they threw Helldivers 2. Not a bad start to the list, because probably not many people's number one, but definitely a fun game of the last year. I played Helldivers maybe like 5-10 hours with my friends Fry Biscuits, a little bit of Scootish, some Bob Wolf. We kind of teamed up. It's a 4-player game, and we dived into some hell. I even bought the expensive pack that came with the extra armor thing, just a cosmetic. And Bob and Bingle always asked how I got it, and I was like, I just know I'm gonna play this game a lot, so I invested in the deluxe edition, and then I barely played 10 hours. It was fun though. It's just, I didn't get like super stuck into it, but I could definitely see it being someone's number 10. Number 9 is a recent addition to the year, and that's Lego Horizon Adventures. I haven't had a chance to play this one yet, but it's Lego. Lego's usually fun. This game looks really polished. I could also see this being someone's number 9, especially if they maybe played it with a partner or their kid. I'm understanding, I'm vibing, I'm appreciating. I don't know if either of these games would be in my top 10 of the year, but I appreciate this top 10 so far. Yeah, now we are like, the credibility's going out the window a little bit now. I mean, we weren't exactly knocking it out the park before, but now we're definitely letting the bull strike 3 times. I don't know if that's a proper analogy for baseball. Star Wars Outlaws. Welcome to a wretched hive of scum and villainy. No, I mean, again, for like a casual gamer, for Joe, the casual back annex gamer of Time Magazine, I mean, Star Wars Outlaws is probably a magical adventure, especially if you're a big Star Wars fan. You don't play many video games. Maybe you haven't even dived into a game other than Helldivers in the last like 5-10 years. Maybe the last thing you played was on like Xbox 360, right? And then you're jumping into Outlaws all of a sudden, and it's like, whoa, look how far video games have come. Graphics. I could see it, I suppose. I do appreciate that it's at 8. I appreciate that it's on the higher end of this list, and it's not so close to number one. It is funny that it's here at all in the official Time Magazine's top 10. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm being too harsh either. Like, again, this is all opinion. I'm just having fun. I'm just goofing. I'm just goofing and gaffing on this. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But because it's Time Magazine's top 10, it feels like it should be official, and it's technically so bad. That's all. 7's Black Myth Wukong. Great game. I would argue. I would put pen to paper and write an angry letter to mail into Time Magazine that maybe this should be way closer to number one. Just for my personal preference, I'm probably gonna have this at 1 or 2 on the list. Not so much 7 right behind Outlaws, but I'm glad it's here. I actually was kind of surprised to see it here because it's such a intense game. I don't know. I didn't really it's not a casual game, that's for sure. So I'm glad to see it here, to be honest. Then this one, this is giving me Elden Ring's allowed to submit their DLC into the Game Awards in 2024. Alan Wake 2, Night Springs, and The Lake House. So we've got in number 6 2 sets of Alan Wake 2 DLC. Not sure how I feel about that. I haven't played them yet. I know the first DLC was more side character stuff, and then this was like an actual like expansion that I do look forward to playing. But these DLCs higher than Black Myth Wukong? I mean, higher than really anything is pretty bizarre to me. But hey, maybe this DLC is awesome. Then Never, the indie game. Again, I will not judge anybody for rating an indie game high on a top 10 game of the year list. Like, honestly, I appreciate it so much. I have still not had a chance to check this game out. I do really want to, but it looks gorgeous, and I'm really excited to play it. And I just appreciate, like, this is giving me real gamer vibes, in my personal opinion, that they would put this so high above some other like blockbuster experiences. That is giving me somebody who appreciates video games. So this is a big dub to me, in my opinion, on this list. I really appreciate seeing this so high. That said, I haven't played it, but I'm fully expecting to love it once I do. Silent Hill 2, we're trending in the right direction again. I still have not played this game. I wanted to pick it up on Black Friday on sale, but I was trying to find it pre-owned to get the buy 2, get 1 free GameStop deal, and I couldn't pull it off. I do want to play it. I've heard incredible things. People are raving about this, and I'm not surprised seeing it so high. I, again, love what's happening here. I mean, I feel like we're in the top right now. I feel like we should be at number 1. Final Fantasy Rebirth, for me, it's a mix of like that and Wukong are number 1. I really don't know where we could go from here because I feel like we've hit all the number 1 spots. I'm surprised by a couple things, but as a whole, I think I'm pretty impressed by... Okay, you know what? I take it all back. Astrobot? What could be number 1? All right, I just had to take a moment. Oh, that was a turn, wasn't it? Dragon Age. Oh, that hit like a ton of bricks at the end there. Above all the other games. Dragon Age, I couldn't even bring myself to play it in the end. I still remember. Hold on. Can we take a second here? I hate when other people built by games like Baldur's Gate, where I'm seeing a similar aesthetic in characters and such good writing and voice acting. And then here we have these absolutely bland, generic lines and delivery. We need to lure her out to have any chance. I don't know. It just doesn't hit. It's just so like So as soon as I saw this trailer, this is the first I saw of this game, I immediately knew the writing and acting and delivery was all going to be terrible. And then the gameplay too, the same teams behind it anymore. Especially after just finishing Wukong and diving back into Stellar. Yeah, I was complaining that I just finished Wukong and the gameplay was so awesome. And then you look at the gameplay of this game and it's so like rudimentary and like stiff. Yeah, I really wasn't sold on it, and I didn't know people were so excited for it at the time, and I was literally saying this game is going to be very average, and I remember getting a lot of flack. I'm not this I mean this channel's brand new, so there wasn't a lot of people like coming at me yet. But I remember on my stream and in some of my reactions online, Dragon 8 previewed very, very well, by the way, and the dragon is Blighted Dragon. That's why it looks strange. Yeah, there's a lot of people like, no, it actually looked really good. It does feel great while playing, someone that got to play it early. So there was a lot of people very hopeful that Dragon Age was going to end up being good. I don't think this was a good showing of what Dragon Age is going to be like, which is so sad because like it's exactly what it ended up like, obviously. This guy agreed on Dragon Age. But yeah, a lot of people were very excited for this game based on, you know, hype and also expectations and hoping that it compared to the Dragon Ages that they loved in the past. But at this point, it's not the same people working on the game. The story wasn't there. The narrative wasn't there. The voice acting was absolutely terrible. The combat, I didn't think looked very enjoyable. As a whole package, I just thought it looked like a very average, mediocre game without much depth. And that's not even me getting into like all of, you know, the other stuff that other people online talk about, because I couldn't give two pisses about that. Although I do feel like it was handled very ham-fistedly and definitely made it stick out like a sore thumb in a bad way, unfortunately. But yeah, this is absolutely not the game of the year. I would put this around about the same area as like Star Wars Outlaws, where there's kind of like bones of a good game, and it was like one of them you've just kind of missed the mark. It just kind of wasn't anything that anybody that was a fan of the series really wanted it to be, but in general just wasn't. It wasn't it. It wasn't number one. So without reading this entire book here, of why they decided to place it at number one. That was just their opinion, man. They loved it. I wonder what they're missing. Best games of 2024. So no Metaphor ReFantazio, no Balatro, no Zelda Echoes. They didn't put, that's funny that they, wow, actually now I'm realizing that's really funny they didn't put in the Elden Ring DLC. They obviously love Black Myth Wukong, and they put in the Alan Wake DLC, but they had no interest in the Elden Ring DLC. I mean, that should be higher than the Alan Wake DLC. I mean, that should be pretty close to number one, I would think. A lot of people, I don't know how you feel about Hades 2, I think because it's like pre-development. No Stellar Blade, no Persona 3 Reloaded. I would say there's a couple things possibly missing from their list, but for the most part, I think they incorporated most of the really big ones. I think their order was just kind of all over the place. I would love to know what you guys think and also what your top 10 games of the year were. I haven't like sat down and actually put mine together, but I'll tell you that Rebirth is number one and Wukong's number two. I've already figured that out in my head. I'd probably put Astrobot number 3 personally. I did really like Thank Goodness You're Here, actually. I'm now realizing that didn't get any love at the Game Awards, and that's quite disappointing. I did quite like that game. Stellar Blade, honestly, I might even go Black Myth Wukong. No. Final Fantasy Rebirth, Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, Astrobot. There's my 4. And then maybe like even Persona 3 Reloaded might be coming in at 5. I honestly enjoyed that a lot more than I'm enjoying Metaphor. I liked Mario Party Jamboree a lot. I don't even know if Echoes is in my top 5 of the year. Echoes might come in at might be 5. It might come in at like 6 or 7. I'm not too sure. Maybe I should put together my official top 10. I think that's everything. One thing I want to add, it's funny, when I did my Game Awards video where I was voting on the Game Awards, I always get those comments from people that say, why are you voting for the game you think will win and not the game that you want to win? I guess it's weird in my head because like I try to be so unbiasedly critical of video games, and I try to take my personal preference out of it. Like, I really, really enjoyed Stellar Blade. It was one of my favorite games of the year, but I do not think it's as good as other games are. I don't think it's one of like, I think it's one of the best games of the year, but I don't think it's even close to the top 5. So even though I really enjoyed it and probably enjoyed it more than some other games that I would say are in the top 5, I'm not going to just vote for that game to be the best game of the year because I really liked it. I actually kind of have an issue with people that do that, that can't remove themselves from their favorite experiences or their personal favorite games to recognize what might actually be the best game of the year. That baffles me. That was a really big thing that happened when I voted for Baldur's Gate 3 to win, because that was Tears of the Kingdom year. And I loved Tears of the Kingdom. That was my favorite game of the year, but I voted for Baldur's Gate 3 to win, and people were mind blown by that. They were like, why are you voting for the thing you think will win and not your favorite? And I was like, because the thing I think will win is a better game. I think Baldur's Gate 3 is a better game. I think it offers a lot more than Tears of the Kingdom does, and it does a lot more for its genre than Tears of the Kingdom did for its genre at this point. But my personal preference is an action-adventure game. That's what I have more fun with than a role-playing D&D style game, which I did really enjoy, which says a lot because I don't really even like that genre normally. But I can see that that's a better game. I'm not going to vote for my personal preference. And I don't think that's like a wild thing to do. You're supposed to vote for the game of the year. Does that make sense? I feel like that makes so much sense to me, analytically, critically, non-biasedly, but also just in what the game of the year is. And it's the same thing with like this, which is why when I look at like the top 10 time games and I see Dragon Age first, I'm like, well, you're not being unbiased, are you? You're voting for your personal favorite. And maybe it tugged at your personal heartstrings and you liked that game more than other games, but you're not being serious, are you? You're not being unbiased. You're not being critical. You're not being analytical, but you're doing Time Magazine's top 10 best games of the year and you're just picking your favorites, which I don't know. That seems to like just go against what that should be. Like, should that not be the actual 10 best games of the year in at least a somewhat nuanced opinion and not like DLC for Alan Wake that I guess you really enjoyed? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just blabbing. I want to know what you guys think, though, and if any of that made sense. Like, comment, and flip on that subscribe button. I haven't been doing the goofs and gaffs at the end of these episodes because people just aren't giving me goofs and gaffs, you know? And what am I going to do if you guys don't give me a goof and a gaff? But I'll show you a user on Blue Sky. Let me pull that up. So Blackbird on Blue Sky actually gave me a 3D print of my logo, and I have been 3D printing it. I got to be careful holding this because it's not all stuck together yet, and it will all fall apart. How sick is that? I have the T printed. The T's not missing. It's just that I got to glue this part together before I can add the T in. And I'm going to put he's left room underneath the lights, or underneath the letters, for me to put LED lights in there. So that's your goof and the gaff of the day, and once I have that finished, I'll show you guys here. I really love 3D printing. I can just make stuff. It's so cool. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.